Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the SANDTON Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
That's right, it's the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and is always available as a podcast on Apple, Google and Spotify. I'm Alexander Leibner. This is edition 101 and we're into week 6 and it is February 2023. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za or connect with us on social media @SANDTON Times or visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. You can send through your questions, your comments, and be part of the conversation and be part of the show. It's always good to hear from you. Thank you for joining me as always every week as you come to us from all over South Africa and all over the world, tuning in as you do, and you can pick your preferred platform. If you want to listen to it live, delayed, streaming, DStv, radio, all is welcome. And I'm happy to report also that all is well in Sandton land. We're back on solids. Yes, you're right. We're back on solids. We're back on solid ground, that is. And we're back in the studio for this week. And Vincenzo, thank you so much for juggling a lot of balls over the last 2 weeks, bringing us from all kinds of different places. And I don't think it's the last time we're going to be doing it this year. Well, if you're listening live on Mix 93.8 and not to the podcast, that is, our WhatsApp line is open. So it's good to hear from you. I know some great questions coming through. Last week, especially on cruises and cruising. Someone asked again, is there load shedding on cruises? No, there isn't. They make their own power. And it was actually quite weird having to live a few days with power constantly on, not having to check a load shedding schedule. I mean, it almost feels surreal. But here we are again, having to juggle things, and you might be listening to this in the dark. You might not be listening to this at all. Or if you are in a fortunate position that you are listening to this and the lights are on, well, count your blessings. Well, there was bound to be a bit of a mix-up whilst we were traveling and doing this from different locations and doing a show whilst on a moving ship. So before, you think we've opened a health spa last week, because I know the music was very sort of tranquil, actually. It's not our usual sort of upbeat, energetic versions. Well, I think we played out the wrong versions last week. But anyway, please forgive us. And there's always bound to be some playlist errors when you try and do a lot of things at the same time. And we're back to the usual. And I think it might have gotten lost in translation. Or was it transmission? I'm not sure. But we're back. Coming up on this week's show, it sounds like a movie, but Johannesburg has had more than one tiger on the loose, which has thrust the spotlight on owning exotic pets. I catch up with a wildlife expert to understand this in a bit more detail. Then there's a whole new world heading to Sandton's Theatre on the Square. A new show with all your favorite Disney hits premieres this week, and I'm going to speak to the man behind the keyboard for that. Then after that, he's become a familiar voice and face in many South African commercials, but just over a year ago, he was still working a corporate gig, and I get to chat to him as he joins me to share his journey. So stay tuned for that. And finally, we head over to Dubai to chat to the resident band at Quincy Jones's Bar and Lounge. Do you know he has a bar and lounge in Dubai? Well, we're going to be chatting to them. All this and more coming up. We'll do the headlines in a minute, but to get the hour going, let's play a bit of music.
Show some love.
subscribe, share,
Leave a review and rating for the SANDTON Times Hour
on your favorite podcast app now. The latest news,
the biggest names,
the best destinations,
the hottest entertainment. This is the SANDTON Times Hour.
This is the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 with Young Right Now by Robin Schultz and Dennis Lloyd. Are we young right now? I don't know about you, but I'm turning 40 in 3 weeks' time. Yikes. It's time for the headlines for this week. So Johannesburg has a new mayor. Again. Yes, the latest mayor in Johannesburg is Al Jamar party member Thapelo Ahmad. He was elected as the new mayor following former mayor Mpho Palazzo being ousted again. And, we didn't know much about Thapelo Ahmad. I think up until now there's been a lot being shared about his career and where he comes from and what he's going to do. But his Sandton fame came as he tabled a motion to rename Sandton Drive a few years back. I'm not sure if you remember that, Vincenzo. Yeah, they wanted to rename Santon Drive. I don't know what happened to that. I know they also wanted to rename William Nicol Drive. I'm not sure if that's still happening. But anyway, there we go. New mayor. Let's hope that we get some more service delivery and that the things that are important to all of us on a daily basis get addressed and get dealt with before we have another one. We keep seeming to have new mayors. Can't even keep track anymore. Times Live reports a man is in a critical condition after sustaining a gunshot wound to the chest at a popular shooting range in Fourways this past week. The motive of the shooting is unknown and police are investigating. Well, sure, if you're not safe at a shooting range, where are you safe? Also this past week, the Sowetan Live reported on the hashtag #StandUpSA movement who marched on Eskom's headquarters in Greater Sandton demanding an end to load shedding. And so say all of us. There you go. And finally, SA Tourism hosted a media briefing in Sandton this week to deal with the fiasco around sponsoring English Premier League team Tottenham Hotspur. Well, did you watch the press conference by SA Tourism CEO Themba Robin? Vincenzo, did you see it? It's quite a lengthy one. I actually had to watch it online because we never got an invite for it, and they did apologize for that. But it would have been great to ask him a couple of questions. So for the record, I did reach out to ask them for an interview. Haven't received a response yet, but let's see what happens. I'd love to have this conversation with them. Let's leave it for the headlines there for this week. They don't just feature on cereal and oat boxes, but they've also been spotted, or is it striped, in neighbourhoods near you. Here to chat to us about tigers on the loose and more is wildlife expert Karen Trendler, right after the break.
The best of Santon and beyond.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour.
Online, on air,
Anywhere, anytime.
This is the SANTON Times Hour.
It's the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and available on all good podcast platforms. And as we get this week's show on the road, I'm thrilled to touch on a topic that I've been sort of vaguely exposed to as I've been on a ship last week, and I suppose wasn't really too concerned, but we've got tigers on the loose almost every week in Johannesburg, it seems. I mean, there was the one that happened a couple of weeks ago. Then we had another one that was only a few days ago. And if you're listening to this overseas, I mean, I know the ongoing stereotype, which has almost become a little bit laughable, is when you go somewhere in the world and they say you're from South Africa, they say, oh, we've got wild lions running around and giraffes. And I mean, now we can't even dispute that. I mean, now we have to say, well, actually, we do. It feels like somebody's been playing Jumanji in the backyard of Johannesburg suburbs, and we've got wild animals on the loose. And to discuss this in a bit more detail as to how this is happening, why this is happening, and why it possibly shouldn't be happening, I've got Karen Trendler on the line with me. She's a wildlife expert. And Karen, what are you making of the story of tigers running around almost as much as pigeons are at the moment?
I think what's concerning is it's not a new story. This is two very recent ones. We've had tiger in gardens in Sandton, and the captive lion and captive predator, including tiger issue, has been something that welfare organizations, conservation organizations, and I've certainly been involved in for about 15 years, 20 years since I got my first orphaned lion cubs.
Unbelievable. So it's probably just become general consciousness now that we are having to deal with this. And I know that there's been a lot of people who've been terrified of walking the streets of Johannesburg in case they encounter a wild tiger. But we've established now that it's actually, from a legislative perspective, not that difficult to actually own a tiger, which almost sounds a bit ridiculous.
It's absolutely crazy. And the legislation sort of fails right the way from the top. So our Department of Environmental Affairs are saying it's an exotic animal, it's not a conservation concern, therefore it's not our problem. They have now said they'll set up a task team, but we haven't seen anything formal on that. And then it filters down to the provinces. So we have 9 provinces and each of them have their own legislation. And then you have the municipalities underneath that. And you can go stronger than national legislation. So there are some provinces that say, no, you can't keep tiger. So, if national is saying, no, it's okay, and some of the provinces are saying it's fine, and the municipalities are saying it's okay, then we're going to keep having tigers in people's backyards and wandering around the streets. The amount of resources and effort, apart from what that poor animal goes through. I mean, you can imagine if you're out of your known environment and you suddenly having to evade and find food, it must be terrifying. But the amount of resources that get pumped into trying to locate these tigers, and it's totally uncontrolled. Everybody arrives on the scene. Everybody tries to catch the tiger and all shouting. And sure, just makes it more difficult and more risky.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. I mean, if I understand the legislation correctly, what they're saying is that if it's an animal that's indigenous to South Africa, so you can't own a lion, you can't own an elephant, you can't own a leopard, a cheetah, etc. But if it's an exotic animal that isn't sort of home in South Africa, so that's where we're talking about tigers, I don't know if panthers and all kinds of other exotic animals fall into that pot as well. You are pretty much open to putting one of these in your backyard. I mean, if it's a dragon or a unicorn or whatever, not a problem.
That's the story. In some provinces, they are sort of regulated, but in most of the provinces, and certainly in Gauteng, you can keep a tiger in your garden. You can keep various other exotic species. And I think the other exotic species don't sort of come into our focus, because if your pet tortoise or your pet iguana escape, it's sort of not high profile. But when you have a tiger on the loose, it's
a slightly different story.
It creates a lot of stir.
Yeah. So, I mean, apart from the legislative stuff, because a lot of people might say, well, look, I've got a tiger and I'm within the law to do so, etc., etc. But I hesitate to say, you know, there's a moral element to this, but there's also environmental element to this. Why shouldn't we be keeping tigers and the like in our own backyard?
Well, I think each exotic species brings its own challenges and its own risks, and some of them, if they escape, are more aggressive and can overrun our own indigenous populations of animals. For example, you know, some of the mongooses and some of the owls that are exotic can cause problems. And in the case of tiger, it feeds into a much, much bigger industry. South Africa has one of the largest captive lion breeding industries in the world. We have more lion in captivity than we have in the wild. And many of those breeders have tigers and other predators as well. They are interbreeding ligers. They are selectively breeding the tigers. The one facility we went to, they had strawberry colored. And yeah, it's just a very, very big problem all around.
I mean, is there a fashion that's going around in terms of owning some of these animals? I mean, I can see the cuteness factor, because if you get a tiger cub or a whatever cub, you know, it's quite cute and it's sweet and it's, you know, it's 20 centimeters long, etc. But once you fed it a few, you know, ribeye steaks and it's been around for a while, these things grow into massive animals. I mean, they're like 3 meters to, you know, large, that become a whole different ball game to manage.
Tigers are one of the heaviest of the big carnivores and can be extremely dangerous. And what adds to that is, you know, if you know the behavior of a predator, you can hopefully try and avoid being attacked by one. So in the wild, if you're charged by a lion, you stand still, you don't crouch down, you make yourself look as big as possible, shout, and whatever you do, you don't run. Once an animal becomes tame or humanized, that behavior becomes totally unpredictable. And then you add to that a tiger that's running around the suburbs who is scared, who is disorientated. You've got everybody chasing it and the noise and the traffic. So it just makes for an incredibly difficult situation. And what we didn't mention earlier in it is the legislation doesn't just cover or fail to cover tiger, but as an owner of a tiger, if your tiger escapes, you can be hammered hard legally, both from a civil point of view and also the Animal Matters Amendment Act. If your tiger bites someone, if your tiger causes any damage or disturbance, you can have huge, huge costs brought against you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's quite a bit of that's going to be happening now, I think, with these last 2 cases that have happened. And as I say, we don't actually even know how many more tigers are hidden away in backyards or in people's houses at the moment. So who knows? This might be...
Well, I hate to tell you, Santon's not excluded from this. A number of years ago, we had 2 tigers just down the road.
Well, we had 2 pythons break out as well.
Yep. So if you've got the money, you can buy a tiger.
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, maybe not. Maybe save yourself the headaches and stick to hamsters and guinea pigs and rabbits or those sort of things. But Karen, I thank you for making the time to chat to us here on the SANTON Times Hour. Corinne Trendler, she's a wildlife expert, just giving us a bit of an update and a bit of some additional info around some of the stuff we've seen in the news of late. And as I say, if you're listening from overseas, this is not business as usual. We try and stick to potholes and load shedding, not necessarily having wild animals roaming the streets and making Johannesburg that little bit more dangerous than it possibly needs to be, although we're not known as the safest city in the world. Bottom of the hour, looking a quick look at the time, and we're going to take a quick musical break, and we'll be right back with more of the SANTON Times Hour right after this.
Back for more?
The SANTON Times Hour continues.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and that was Smiles with a new take on Baker Street. It's such a great track, that Baker Street. Taking you into the second half of the SANTON Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner, and you know how this works. If there's anything that sounded good on the show, but you didn't get all the details, be sure to visit the show notes on www.santontimes.co.za for a detailed breakdown of everything that we've discussed on the show this week. So if you're looking for dates, addresses, times, prices, whatever it is that we discuss on the show, we'll put it up on the website so you don't have to fiddle around in the car or at home and try and jot things down. It's all there for you and it's easy to access. Also, you can follow us on our social media accounts at SANTON Times, and you're also free to engage. Send your comments, your thoughts, your questions, your voice notes, your DMs, all of that. And you can also use the hashtag SANTON Times Hour. Well, we're well into 2023. Theatre is also coming alive again, and there's a great show coming up at the Theatre on the Square at Nelson Mandela Square. It's called DREAMLAND, and it's by DuPreez Strauss, and he's going to be presenting a series of Disney songs and stories like you've never heard them before. And DuPreez joins me right now on the show. DuPreez, good to chat to you.
Hi, you too, man. Thanks for having me.
DuPreez, how did you come up with this? I mean, firstly, just to put it into context, you were the associate music director and orchestra conductor of The Lion King in 8 countries. I mean, that is quite something.
It's quite something. Let me tell you, 8 such strange countries sometimes. And the cities we sometimes go to, I'd never heard of before until I got my flight ticket. So it's been quite a trip for me. And the most interesting thing about it was not just this geographical trip, but a very emotional one for me. Getting out of Bloem, where I grew up as a child, I didn't quite feel like, my interest, I know, right? My interest in music and art were quite as much valued as they meant to me, you know what I mean? So I plotted for the first 20 years to get out of there. And then Lion King gave me this opportunity for the next 20 years to take me as far as I possibly could have from Bloem.
Amazing.
But now I'm back. And the interesting thing about Dreamland is that, did you know that most, if not all, Disney stories are based on the same story structure called the hero's journey? Every main character in a Disney movie has to leave their home first. Either they run towards something or they run away from something to become a better person. And then in order to come back and mean more to the people back home than they ever could have if they didn't leave. And that is exactly my story. So what's so wonderful for me is to bring Disney back after all these years and all these countries I've presented it in to my most favorite people back home. I mean, I am from South Africa, and I realize now more than ever that it's my place. And I wanted to do a one-man show of Disney songs and stories like you've never heard them before, because it's my personal take on these famous songs that everybody loves. Everyone thinks they know it by heart, but I'm presenting it in a fresh way that makes you go, oh my word, I never realized that and that is also happening in the music or in the story. Yeah.
Well, listen, I think there's a lot of parents listening who say, well, if you can bring a new take to Frozen's Let It Go, I'm ready to hear it, because that's probably the one song that every modern adult knows. But, I mean, I grew up with Disney in the 90s. I think it was the golden era of Disney. Aladdin, The Lion King, we had The Little Mermaid, we had Hercules. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, the VHS tapes made their rounds, and we all got to watch these amazing stories. I don't know if Disney still got the same kind of musical strength that it had back in the 90s. I don't know if the modern Disney stories are as focused on the music as they were back then.
Well, you're not the exact target market anymore.
True,
Excuse
true,
me. But
true.
I mean, we've moved on in the world. We're not as young as we used to be in the 90s. So let me tell you what happens after every Dreamland performance. Kids, oh my God, they stream towards me and they all want to tell me what was their favorite part. They don't say necessarily the things that you think are the golden age of Disney. They come to me and they say, oh my word, that song about whatever recent movie is the best part of the show. So let me tell you, the magic continues. And Disney has been bringing that musical and visual magic for almost 100 years. And for me, that's the magic of Disney. And in my life as well, having been, with Disney for almost 2 decades, the magic just doesn't stop. For every new generation, there's a new level of magic. So yeah, come to the show, as old as you are, and come discover the recent music that's just as magical.
DuPreez, I'll be the old fogey in the back row, reminiscing about a whole new world and Prince Ali, mighty as he. So. DuPreez, tell me, I mean, when you travel the world and you're talking about going to countries you've never heard of and cities you've never been in, and obviously there's a language barrier, there's a cultural barrier, does all of that fall away the moment the music starts? I mean, you can't communicate maybe to some of your orchestra because you don't speak the same language, but the moment we open up the sheet and we go into the circle of life, everyone knows exactly what's going on.
You've said it, man. And it is the most incredible thing to experience in every one of these countries. I cannot even speak to anybody in Busan, South Korea. I cannot. I can hardly order a coffee. But the minute starts at the beginning of Lion King, people are crying. It's changing their lives. Little kids are trying to climb out of their seats to get to the life-size elephant coming down the aisle. It transcends literally every language and culture and country in the world. It's the most incredible thing that Disney is so omnipresent in everybody's lives of all ages around the world. It's the big leveling factor, I find.
Amazing. So what can we expect from the show? I mean, you've already alluded to the fact that you're going to be playing the music. You're going to be giving us a new version of it. Are you going to be singing all these songs as well? Or is there additional backup as well?
Because I know that Disney is so full of visual elements and lyrics and distractions, I wanted to strip it down specifically just to me on the piano. And throughout the show, I draw people's attention to how, in the song that's coming up, listen to how this and that element in the song carries the story, tells you which emotion you should feel right now. And people are absolutely amazed. They come and tell me after the show all the time that they never realized that if you take all the visuals and all the lyrics, all the words away, the actual music, stripped down to its basic beauty, tells the story. So that on the one hand was my mission, and I wanted to pitch it somewhere between a children's storybook session and a classical piano concert. I thought maybe it's the craziest idea. It's never going to work. And it's working like a charm, let me tell you. I go quite crazy on the piano, I must say. I mean, when I let rip on Frozen, you're like, whoa, is this a piano concert or is this a Disney show? But the kids and the parents, there's something for everyone. And that's sort of like, genre bending crossover that I've tried. And I'm so happy I did because it works so very well. And then let me tell you a little secret, because, but don't tell everybody, because all Disney stories are based on the same structure of the hero's journey. I'm telling some of these stories concurrently, as if they're happening at the same time. So like, just as Moana's raft sails past in the morning sun, hundreds of meters below the surface, a little mermaid stares up at her raft, also dreaming of one day leaving her home when she can walk on dry land towards the love of her life. So many of these stories are weaved into each other as if they're happening at the same time, because in essence, the same things happen to these heroes. All the plot points are there. So yeah, that's just a magical new way of experiencing the stories as well.
Incredible. Well, if you want to be part of that world, you can catch it from the 7th to the 19th of February 2023. It's happening at SANDTON Theatre on the Square at Nelson Mandela Square. You can get tickets, a CompuTicket. You can also check in with the box office. And DuPreez Strauss, Associate Music Director and Orchestra Conductor of The Lion King in 8 different countries. I've been so thrilled to chat to you, and thank you so much for joining me on the SANTON Times Hour.
Follow the SANTON Times on social media.
At SANTON Times.
All right, change of pace. And, sometimes you meet really interesting people when you go out and do this kind of job. You're always going to events and you're always going to things. And I found myself at a Cotlan's comedy event. When was it? Sometime last year, 2022, they had a fundraiser. I think it was actually for Mandela Day. My goodness. Okay, that actually says a lot. That's like almost, more than 6 months ago. And, there was some great talent that comes up. There's new talent. There's existing talent that performs. And it was a good event. They had it at the Hard Rock Cafe in Nelson Mandela Square. And during this show, I come across this new face that I had seen before in comedy. And we got chatting afterwards, and I thought, well, I need to catch up with him. And I thought, let's do it first thing in the new year, because you know how these things go. You always say to people, we're going to catch up, and then we never catch up. So here he is, Themba Robin, voice artist and content creator, and also comedian at Hard Rock Cafe in Nelson Mandela Square for Cotlands.
Alex, how's it going?
Yeah, it's so good to chat to you again, man.
Likewise, man. Like we were saying, it's been a minute, eh?
It has. I can't believe it. It's been like half a year that's passed, and it feels like I spoke to you yesterday.
No, it does. I think the time is ticking, and I don't know if it's because we're getting older or what it is, but it feels like we're on a bit of a crazy roller coaster.
Well, listen, I'm looking forward to 2023 being one of those years again that feels like it did in 2018 or 2017, or kind of what we knew. None of this other sort of like exciting stuff apart from load shedding.
And it feels like it though. I mean, I think there's a definite shift starting this year compared to the previous 2-3 years. Like, I feel like everybody's actually in the groove, and I think last year everyone was a bit shell-shocked having to go outside again for the first time in a long time, and now people are like, hey, I can do this.
For sure. But Themba, tell us about yourself. I mean, we had a brief chat. You told me you hadn't been in comedy last year at all. That was kind of like one of your first gigs, I think, that I found you at. Where were you? Where had you come from? And how did you get into what you're doing now? Because we're going to touch on this just now. You're doing some really great stuff.
Shut, man. Yeah. That event was the second comedy gig that I'd ever done. It was my second one for last year. And so at the start of last year, I told myself, I'm definitely going to get into comedy. This is what I want to do. And I got offered 2 jobs. Somebody, for some reason, people approached me and said, you would be great at comedy, at stand-up, come, let's put you on the spot. And so they wanted to hire me. And the gigs were like June and July or something. I suppose, Mandela Day is July-ish.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And so this is in January last year. And I thought, well, that gives me more than enough time to get some stage time going and everything. But at the same time, I just resigned from my day job. So now I'm full-time into voiceover and content creation and that.
What was your day job, by the way?
I was a rep, but I think rep kind of cages it in. But like a brand ambassador rep for a gin distillery out in the Western Cape. All
right. So you had sort of a fairly corporate sort of 9-to-5 kind of job. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was a little bit weird. But I'd gotten to the point where, the two could no longer exist
together.
One was just, exactly. Yeah. So there could only be one kind of element. And so, so I thought, okay, cool. I'll do it this year. And this whole crazy thing happened where I was just quite busy, and I never got around to doing any stand-up the entire year until the first gig. I had to do a 30-minute set at Champagne Sports Resort in Drakensberg. It was long, man. And I had to go on at 9 a.m. It was
9 a.m.
Then I was like, okay, cool.
Everyone in the room is totally sober, fresh out of the breakfast
feeling sorry
room.
for themselves. And then about 2 weeks later, it was Nelson Mandela Day, and it was really fun though, because I mean, obviously, like you said, there were some regular faces there, like Chris Forrest and the guys. So it was really nice to rub shoulders with those guys. And Dave Livingston, he's kind of taken me under his wing a little bit. So we do a couple of nights out around town with him also now. So getting there.
Listen, it's a fantastic story, because I think there's so many people probably sitting right now listening to this on their way home, or they're at home already, and they might have been thinking about their career. They've been thinking about what they do every day, and they've probably the last 3 years, if there's been any other time in the world that you start thinking about your life and your existence, a lot of people probably thought, I should really pursue that chef career or that comedy career like you were talking about, and it never happens. Like, you're back in that exco meeting on Friday talking about numbers and EBITDA and whatever else that you talk about in these in these board meetings, and nothing ever happens. And here you've taken this leap of faith, and it's actually played out well for you, because a lot of people might recognize your face from you appeared on Come Dine With Me at one point. That's, I think, where I started connecting the dots. So you weren't unfamiliar to the world of entertainment, but you've now doing some stuff for MAC washing powder. I saw you in a campaign there. I mean, all within a year. I mean, it's really fantastic.
No, you count your blessings, and as I said, it's not without hard work. I think that's a big thing, and I think a lot of people who get into the creative space, they often fail to express that it takes a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of self-belief. But I mean, also, look, this is the culmination of like 5-6 years of actually grafting and
of preparing yourself.
And weeding, sort of getting that ratio right. Because, when you start, you're 100% exco and corporate board meeting, and you sort of give yourself 10% on the creative, and slowly it shifts and shifts and shifts until there's a balance. And then you've got it's almost like the two boats drifting apart, and you've got a leg on each boat. There's at one point, you've got to then pick a boat kind of thing, which is always, it's a tough decision, especially in the economy that we're in, because people are like, listen, play it safe.
Yeah.
Don't go making cowboy moves or anything. And so, to sit here, it's almost exactly a year later, to sit here and say to you, like, it's been a really phenomenal year. And I've got like the coolest people that follow my my pages and my Instagrams and all that stuff. So like the people out there, and I think that's also a cool thing. It's just like, I absolutely love the guys that follow my stuff. They're the funniest people, and they're engaging. And so it's a two-way street, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's nothing greater than putting yourself out there and actually realizing it resonates with people. And the thing is, you're never going to capture the whole market, right? I mean, you're never going to have the whole of South Africa following your Instagram account. But if there's a slice of people who resonate with your humor, with the way you do things, and you can build a career around that, I mean, fantastic. Why not?
Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
Amazing.
100%.
Well, strength to you, Themba Robin, voice artist and content creator. It's been great having you on the SANDTON Times Hour, and I look forward to catching up with you later in the year.
No, I will make sure that I touch base with you and keep you updated. And thanks for having me on, Alex.
Fantastic, man. We're going to take a quick break. Let's catch up with some music, and we'll be right back after that.
The best of talk and music in 1 hour. This is the SANDTON Times Hour.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and that was Stefan Rio featuring Franca Morgano with I Know Corrida, originally a hit by Quincy Jones, which leads us to our last segment for this week. And for that, we head over to Dubai, and a place I continue to reference years after staying there. I was lucky enough to experience the Palazzo Versace Dubai in its opening week, and it's a luxury hotel. It's got a neoclassical design. It's got these subtle traces of Arabian architecture in it, and it still ranks as probably one of the best hotels I've ever stayed at. It's a benchmark, I consider, for premium, for 5-star hotel experiences, and I can't even explain to you what this place looks like. I mean, obviously it's got all the Versace touches. Everyone there is wearing Versace clothing, but it's into the details. I mean, I even remember getting a handwritten note in ink from the general manager when they brought me my cup of tea on a tray, and it's just sensational. If you ever get a chance to go to Dubai and stay at the Palazzo Versace, you have arrived, let me tell you. But I digress. Now, Quincy Jones, he opened his very own bar and lounge at the Palazzo Versace in Dubai called Q's Bar and Lounge. And joining me on the line right now is the resident band performing there called Vortex. I'm going to start off with Dante Kennedy, who among many other titles is responsible for the entertainment. He's also the music director for the Palazzo Versace Hotel and for Q's Bar and Lounge. He began performing in Dubai in 2018 after being called by Quincy Jones and his company to perform a residency in Dubai. And Dante has just performed his 400th show in Q's as of January 2023. So Dante, good to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's great to have you. Then I've also got Emmanuel, who is the keyboardist for the band.
Yeah.
He's been there since October 2021, and he's from Nigeria. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me too.
I've got Mr. Segs, who plays the saxophone and is also from Nigeria, but has been in Dubai for a couple of years. And Mr. Segs, I feel like the saxophone carries a bit of weight in this band because you're the only one who has the word Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Have I got that right? Okay. And then AJ wraps up the triangle of Nigerian band members. He's the newest member to the band, is currently the guitarist. AJ, great to have you on the show as well.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Dante, I'm going to kick off with you. I mean, when you got a call from Quincy Jones and his company, did you believe this was real, or did you think somebody was having you on?
I thought it was a joke. I was working in retail at my job, fresh off a tour, and my cousin called me and said, would I be interested in going to Dubai? Quincy's looking for a drummer. For an artist by the name of Rogelio Douglas, and I thought it was a scam when he said Dubai, so I had to look it up in Google and see what I was walking into. And my family and my district manager told me I would be crazy if I did not take that opportunity, and I haven't been back to work since. So
unbelievable. No, I mean, it sounds like an amazing story. And then you've decided, I mean, you've clearly got a very American accent in all of this, but then you've decided to assemble a band that is all the way from Africa.
Yes.
How did that come about?
And okay, so I basically work as the music and entertainment director for Palazzo. They needed someone here to step in as a liaison, basically, to kind of help with the 4C of live music in Q's Bar, somebody on the grounds. And one of the tasks that they gave me was to find local musicians. And it's been quite the task, but we finally found a core unit. And it just so happened that they are all from Nigeria. And that just happened by accident, just super ordained.
Never planned.
Never planned. But when we do certain things, when I introduce them during the show, they always tell me to tell people that they're from Philadelphia in the States. So,
I love that.
They're honorary Philadelphians.
/ Nigeria. Well, let's move.
Right.
Let's move down the road here, Mr. Segs. I mean, as I said, the man with a Mr. in his title, playing the saxophone. What made you decide to pursue a career in Dubai, of all cities that you could possibly choose from? I know you've got a very successful career in Nigeria, and now here you are in the Middle East.
Yeah, what actually happened is that in Nigeria, I was very famous as a musician, as a saxophonist, playing with different bands, but not really making, money from it. And I decided to, to just change my location and move to another place and try something, a little bit different out from, that's the reason why I moved to Dubai. And, playing with different kinds of people and different people from all other countries, that's where I met Manny.
Amazing.
That introduced me to this band.
Well, listen, making money is very much a part of being an artist. But Emmanuel,
because I need to take care of my family, which is very, very important.
Listen, you got your priorities right, at least. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you didn't say you needed to buy a Porsche or a Lamborghini. So I think you got that right. Emmanuel, listen, you play the keyboard, and the bar has won numerous awards over the last couple of years. I'm just going to list some of them. I mean, What's on Dubai 2021 and 2022 voted Best Live Entertainment. Then 2022 Big Nightlife Award for Best Live Music Venue. Then there was the Time Out Dubai for 2021 and 2022. And the list carries on of all the awards that you won. How much of this award is made up by the band, and how much of this can we actually attribute towards the snacks, drinks, and everything else?
That's good.
The first award that was won when I got in, funny enough, if I should recall, there was no bass player at the time, right? We were supposed to have a bass player, and myself and a singer and Dante. So at the dying minute, the bass player had an emergency, so he couldn't meet up with the first show. And I never scored the bass line. I never scored any other part. So I just had to, improvise, because me knowing my melody and just knowing how to switch to the bass line. And that's how I started playing for the first month. That was October last 2 years. And then after the first month, it was after 1, 2, 3 months, we won the first award. And we need not to forget that Q's Lounge is a name already. It has been built with different artists. Dante was there before me, and they performed so phenomenal. They performed so well. So the name, the standard is there. So when I started with them, I had to keep with the same pace. So and it's a big dream for me. I'm just lucky to be part of the journey, and over the years we've been winning a series of awards because we kept our game tight and we keep making good music. And I don't think it's a personal thing, but I feel it's from the feedback from the guests, feedbacks from people that comes into Q's from various parts of the world, and they feel like, yo, this is the best live entertainment in Dubai. We've never had any experience like this in Dubai. So that's literally a big dream for me. So
amazing. No, that's good. And as we before we wrap things up, AJ, give us a bit of a sense of what kind of music can people expect from Vortex when they come to Q's.
We have a set list though, but sometimes we actually follow the mood of our audience, our crowd, just to keep them going and just swing into their moods and all. So
what are we talking about? Pop, jazz, Motown? What kind of sound would you say?
All kind of music.
Amazing. Well, yeah. Fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. And there you have it. I've got Emmanuel, Mr. Segs, AJ, and Dante wrapping it all up here with the Vortex Band. And guys, thank you so much for making the time all the way from Dubai to chat to us.
So much. Thank you.
And that's it for another SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and also available as a podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Be sure to subscribe and follow and leave a rating. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za or connect with us on social media @SANDTONTimes or visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za and feel free to send through your comments, your questions, your ideas, your content suggestions. All are welcome. Thank you to all our guests who made time from all over the world to be part of this week's show. And Vincenzo, it's good to be back on solid ground, as I mentioned. And thank you so much for making everything happen, as you always do. I don't know how you do it, but you just do it. So thank you. And also everyone at the SANDTON Times team, as well as everyone at Mix 93.8. A special thank you to you for tuning in every week, for streaming, for listening, and let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the SANDTON Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.